Steve Adubato. It's my pleasure to introduce for the first time here on public television, hopefully it will not be the last, a gentleman who has a lot to say about what's going on in the Catholic Church and with our Pope. He is Father Mark DeStephano, Professor of Modern and Classical Languages at St. Peter's University. How are you doing, Father?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We have a very interesting Pope, do we not?
He's a wonderful man. I'm just so excited about him. Interesting, lively, I think somebody who's really captured the spirit of the Church. I was praying that at the time of the election that it would be somebody along the lines of a John the 23rd, and he's certainly been that.
Now, as we do this program, literally, as we approach 2014, you know, not only do I have a new iPad, but more importantly, get this, Bob Morris, our great director. Bob, you are not Catholic, but I know you care very much about the Pope. You got this? The Pope is now on the cover of Time. You knew this already, didn't you?
I just heard this morning.
How great is this? He's on the cover of Time, the Man of the Year. You say Pope Francis. I say Pope Francis. You say what? Describe his personality.
I say open, I think reflective, humble, which I think is a wonderful thing. Someone who's given to service, kind, interested in reform, and someone with a strong spirit, I think, too. Someone who's very interested in getting the Church back on track, I think.
We're off track, aren't we?
I think we have been for a while. I think that the Pope would certainly like to see us, and especially in many ways, I think it has to do with us priests. I think he wants to see, and he said this on so many occasions, he wants to see us priests out of the rectories and on the streets.
What does that mean?
And that is so Jesuit. He wants us not to be waiting for people to come to us. And I think very much in the spirit of the Second Vatican Council, he wants us out among the people, in the jobs that they do, in the places where they go. I think that was the spirit of the Council, to get involved in the world as we know it.
The Vatican Council. But Father, you talk about the Jesuit tradition. Most people do not understand the Loyola connection, if you will, the Jesuit history. The fact that St. Peter's is a Jesuit school, and I tell you, my son is graduating from Fordham as we speak right now, a very strong Jesuit school. The Jesuit mission, describe it. It is not the mission I grew up with as a Catholic, and it is not always accepted by many other Catholics.
Yes. It's very controversial. I really don't know why.
You kind of do know why.
Well,
you do know why.
I mean, I think
because some are uncomfortable with it.
Yes, right.
You're just too activist for many.
Exactly, and I think part of the reason is certainly we follow the spirituality of Ignatius, and because of Ignatius of Loyola's own faith walk, so to speak, the fact that he had been an aristocrat and a noble, and the fact that he gave up that life and he felt this call of really having to go out and find God and listen to God in a very special way. When I say find God, I mean open his own mind and his heart. He found that especially along a road that was very difficult for him. So right off the bat, it was testing the different extremes of, you know, would I serve you as a man who has money or as a man who lives in poverty? And he felt that we could not be tied to things of the world. So in that sense, he got rid of anything that had to do with wealth. And I think we see that with the Pope. So I think that's a hallmark of the Jesuit way of following.
And Father, respectfully, given that the Vatican's history before this Pope, in the eyes of many, is perceived to be so tied to brick and mortar, so tied to behind those walls, so tied to what goes on behind those walls that will not be spoken about to the rest of us, be as Catholic or not. It seems to me that Pope Francis is saying no more.
Exactly, and he is already, from what we have seen from his appointments, the new director of the Vatican Bank, this new advisory committee that he's had. The word on the street early on was that he was considering actually closing the Vatican Bank because of
Which has been a lot of secrecy about the bank?
There's been a lot of secrecy, there's been a lot of scandal over the last several decades. And he has made it clear that he does not want to see his papacy go in that direction. And so it's part of a general reform of the Curia. So, you know, I think it's this idea of being with everyday Catholics and getting away from these curial offices, centers of power. That's also a very Jesuit thing. This idea that we are not to hold office, which was very interesting. Jesuits are not to be, you know, we were not to accept posts like bishop or cardinal. So I think he's put that very much into play, and he said, we need to be normal priests, if you will, out there with people in their usual work.
And Father, excuse me, more open, same-sex marriage?
I think you're going to get a hearing from him on that. He's already intimated
discussion?
this. Yes, I think that's very much a part of our training too. With Jesuits, we're often criticized for this. For a Jesuit, it's always about, whatever it is I want you to learn, it's about questioning everything. I want you to be a critical thinker. If you're going to believe what I believe, it's because you really want to believe it.
The Archbishop in my diocese said there will be no discussion.
In my estimation, that is not something that, I would not say that this is part of what it means to be a true Catholic.
Pope Francis wants a discussion.
Exactly. I would say, and I think that's very much a part of our tradition. Frankly, I don't see how we can say don't discuss something. So,
even if you disagree, he's not saying change
right,
the
exactly.
policy.
Even
he's
if
saying
you
we
just,
can discuss it.
Exactly, and the discussion might lead to changes. I think that's part of the implication. So,
and that includes divorce as well?
Divorce is very much an interest of his, because I think he's raising these hard theories. And I think, Benedict started to raise some of them too, but I think Francis really wants to see this, something done with this.
You see any changes in terms of folks coming back?
I can see just on Sundays, the numbers of people coming back. There's a friend of mine who said he was looking at an atheist website. And a lot of the, quote unquote, atheists are people who were former Catholics. And he said this is maybe a month ago, he said, it was very interesting. He read a number of comments by these atheists who said, maybe with this Francis guy, maybe I need to give this a second look over. And that's exactly what we want, a chance to really implement these wonderful things about the council.
It's a lot to expect from him. He is one man.
It is. It is.
He is one man. This is a massive infrastructure, this bureaucracy, he's one man.
He is, it's true, it's one man. I hope that what he will have behind him is, as we say, the sensus fidelium, the sense of the faithful, excuse me.
So you use Latin like that? Go ahead.
I was trained in the classical tradition.
Exactly. In public television, we don't interpret that quickly. Go ahead.
So this idea that, I think what most people are saying, kind of common sense decisions. We need to get back to that common sense Catholicism. And we need to look at issues in the light of developments. So, doctrine is not necessarily going to change entirely, but doctrine can develop over time in different ways.
You're excited.
I'm very excited.
You're not the only Catholic who is.
I hope not.
Thank you, Father. Father Mark DeStephano, who's a professor of modern and classical languages at our friends over at St. Peter's University. Thank you, Father.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
My pleasure. Stay with us. We're right back right after this. Thank you very much.